Hi. Um, this is going to be off the fly, so there's going to be a lot of ums and ers, and I'm probably going to go through and pretty much eliminate all the really stupid things that I might wind up saying in the next couple of minutes. But this is going to be a very quick video, I hope. Um, but it's going to be a rant. So here we go. Um, I am really upset. I am spending the 4th of July in my room. Yes, it is the 4th of July. I hope you all have a safe 4th of July, but I'm not going to wish anybody a happy 4th of July because you know what? There's nothing happy about celebrating the demise of our country. We have literally watched our country fall into the depths of authoritarianism and fascism and and literally stripping away the rights of people who deserve to be. We shouldn't even have to be fighting over the rights of many of the peoples in our nation. We have we have watched the Supreme Court strip away Roe v. Wade, which is an abomination toward women and their rights to their own bodies. I almost swore. I'm trying not to swear. I promise I'm trying not to swear. Women have the right to their own bodies. They have the right to decide whether or not they want to spend 9 months carrying a baby of somebody they. Well, we won't get into all of that. If they can't afford to, if there is is a medical problem, if there is an abuse problem, if there is anything like that, a woman has the right to choose. Now, do I do I personally agree with abortion? That's that's to be determined. But you know what? I'm not a woman, so I would drive my best friend to a clinic in order for her to have a safe medical procedure done that would keep her from having to suffer the 9 months and subsequent 18 years torture of carrying an unwanted child. We have enough unwanted children in our nation that we don't need any more. And what we should be doing is teaching in our schools good, healthy sexuality and safe sex practices. We should not be teaching just abstinence. Abstinence is good and it's fine and it's a great way, it's a great part of sex education, but it is not the whole of sex education. Because guess what? I was a teenager once and I had a teenager. I raised several teenagers, and teenagers will do what teenagers do, and we all know what teenagers do. They all want to fuck, and that's it. So we need to teach safe practices. We need to stop with this. Oh, if we teach abstinence, then they'll be all virtuous. And no, they're not. We have to teach them the right thing. And when we don't teach them the right thing, guess what? Abortion rates go up. And the need for abortion, well, I guess need is the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. The statistics go up. We are no longer actually dealing with a healthy sexuality within our youth, but we are dealing with the need to try to figure out whether or not our girls are going to go into a medically safe procedure or if they're going to go into the back alleys or they're going to go up to their rooms and use coat hangers. And that's why Roe v. Wade was put in there in the first place. There were too many women who were becoming sterile and septic and dying and all of that. This is why Roe v. Wade was put in the first place, to save women the disastrous effects of ineffective medical procedure that could actually save their lives. And this is all based on a stupid myth that God does not want abortion. But check in Numbers, y'all. In Numbers, God actually gives the very prescription for an abortion. He actually does say that this is how, and this is if you even believe in God, which I don't, and I think you all know that. Whoever's watching this video knows I do not believe in God. But if you do believe in God, in Numbers, God tells you how to get rid of an unwanted child. Not only that, but also in Numbers, God doesn't count anybody under the age of 3 years old as a human being. When the census was being taken, it was before the age of weaning, which is between 2 and 3 years old. So God never even considered them to be persons. If a man got into an argument with another man and accidentally punched a woman in her stomach while she was pregnant, and she aborted the baby, miscarried the baby, there was no fault. God did not care about that. So if you're thinking that, oh, there's a life there and it's a potential life, and God respects all life, no, read your fucking Bible, dude. He was not concerned about anybody under the age of 3. And the reason being is that the writers of the Bible, the fabulists who were writing these fables, they didn't care about anybody under the age of 3 because they all expected infantile mortality. So they were expecting children to die. They were expecting women to miscarry. They were expecting women to abort for one reason or the other. They did not respect the life of anybody under the age of 3. In our day and age, we respect the life of an actual born child. But at the same time, you who claim to be so worried about life, you don't care about the child once they're born. You're only worried about the unborn child. You're only worried about abortion. But do you worry about the fact that a family can't feed 5 children? No. You cut their food stamps. You refuse them to have any availability of food to actually nourish the child. You have raised rents so high that nobody can afford it, especially if they're on a single income. And if they're on a single income and they're a family, it's mainly because they didn't have any abortions, and so they have 3 or 4 children, and somebody has to stay home with those children. And so the father has to work 1, 2 jobs, or the mother has to work 1, 2 jobs, and somebody has to stay home with the children. And you're not willing to actually put in safety nets to have these families actually taken care of once you have made them to have these families. So these families who should never have been to begin with and have become quite by accident, mostly, and because you refuse to allow them to do anything about it, to medically take care of the problem. Now you're forcing them to live in complete poverty. So you're creating this absolute horrific situation for any number of people, for heck, probably 25 to 33%, if not higher, of our population. So understand that that alone is what makes me not want to celebrate America, because we aren't allowing our freedoms. We aren't allowing half of our population to actually have control and autonomy of their own bodies. They deserve to have the autonomy of their own bodies. If they choose to have these babies, then they damn well should be able to have these babies. But if they cannot, or do not see a way to support these children, and will only wind up giving birth to yet another unborn child with hundreds of thousands of unwanted children, then she should have the right to make that decision on her own. The Supreme Court, these asshats that have been placed there by that arrogant prick who is now he's about to be indicted on well over 100 charges. I don't know if they're felonies. Why are we allowing the Supreme Court to do this? Why aren't we who are the progressives, we who are the ones who want real change and real freedom in our nation, why are we not out there voting in the correct people? And by correct, I mean those who are willing to vote for the people and not for the freaking oligarchs that are out there and the big business and all of that. And I'm talking to you Democrats as well. The Democrats, modern Democrats, have failed the nation. That's another tangent. Our trans brothers and sisters in our lives, I believe that there are probably about 80 to 95% of everyone who is listening to me right now who knows somebody who is thinking about transitioning, is beginning transitioning, is in the middle of transitioning, or is already transitioned, and they are being discriminated against. They are being attacked verbally. They are being attacked physically. They are being attacked now legally. They are not allowed to actually have any kind of gender affirming care in Texas, in Florida, in a few other states. I can't really know that. But trans rights have been slashed so badly that we look worse than a third world country. We are absolutely treating our trans brothers and sisters, and frankly, y'all are allowing it. You have allowed it. You have not gone out there and voted for the right people. You voted for people like Matt Gaetz. You voted for people like Mitch McConnell. You voted for people like, gah, you've just voted for these arrogant pricks who think that Jesus Christ is going to save us all. And guess what? There's no such person as Jesus Christ. He's not going to save us. And even if so, I hope that the Jesus Christ that is real is not the Jesus Christ that these people serve, because these people do not serve the Jesus Christ that I know. When I read the Bible and I was a seminary student, I saw a Jesus Christ who was all about love and acceptance and about feeding the poor and taking care of the sick and making sure that everybody is treated equally and fairly, and love your neighbor as yourself and your enemies. Don't tell me that you serve Jesus Christ, because when I read the Bible, the Jesus in the Bible that I read is not the Jesus that you serve. You serve somebody who is worse than Loki. And you serve someone who is all about chaos and hate and deceit and lies. And when you start treating a marginalized group of people like my trans brothers and sisters, then you are even worse than Loki. You are actually Asmodeus. You are so chaotic and evil that you don't even deserve to be called a Christian. I don't know why it went there, but all I'm saying is, because you have become a part of the Republican Party and you have made this huge noise in the Republican Party, and you have become such a stronghold in what used to be basically fiscally conservative, not fascistically conservative. You've made it a fascist party. You've made it authoritarian. You've made it to the point where we are actually afraid to make our voices known. Well, guess what? I'm hoping that this video will make people like me who have had enough start speaking out against you and voting against you and voting you out, and making sure that our nation becomes the nation that it is supposed to be. We're supposed to be a free nation. We're supposed to be something that is more than a third world country with a frickin' dictator that tells us that we have to piss at 3 and shit at 6, and that's it. And if we don't do that, then we're dead. Don't tell me that you're thinking about the country. And frankly, white nationalism is a horrific idea. Christian nationalism is almost, if not even worse than that. Christian nationalism is simply Jesus-colored Taliban. That's simply it. You're trying to force your religion onto me, and I'm not religious, and I refuse to follow the guidelines of what your religion is, no matter what your religion is. If you're Catholic, if you're Protestant, if you're Pentecostal, I refuse to follow that, because you have shown nothing but hate. Thousands and 2000s of years we have dealt with Christian nationalism, the Crusades. Thank God I get to do this. I'll cut this out. The Inquisitions, the witch hunts. We killed millions of innocent people based on the fact that we thought they might have been witches, or have made pacts with the devil, or the Druids were almost completely wiped out because Christians didn't think that they deserved to live, because they were devil worshippers. They made pacts with devils, and the Catholic Church destroyed the Library of Alexandria, which had some of the most extensive writings in antiquity. And we've got a history of Christianity at its whole completely wrecking the world, completely wrecking everything, and completely destroying everything that is good about our world and forcing us to live under their thumb. And it's time we stop this, guys. We need to stop pretending that Christianity is a thing. And we need to start really dealing with the fact that humanity is a thing. And we need to really, truly make ourselves understand that what's most important is the individual right of everybody. And we need to understand that when it comes right down to it, your life is no worse nor better than mine, but it is just as important, and it is just as sacred, and it is just as viable. And when I sent this meme out earlier, and this is Tim Gwaine paraphrase here, but when we start spreading love as fast as we spread hate and intolerance, then our world is going to be a completely different place, and our nation will be a completely different place. And what we need to do is we need to quiet the voices of these obnoxious people. Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Mitch McConnell, Gohmert, Nancy Pelosi, and Feinstein, and even Joe Biden. I'm not really fond of him either. We need to quiet these voices, and we need to start being loud ourselves to say, you know what? Trans rights are human rights. Trans women are women. Trans men are men. And women have the right to choose what they do with their own body and how their own bodies are going to react over the next year, and what they need to be able to do to make sure that their bodies react the way that they want it to be. We need to understand that everybody has the right to marry. And you know what? I'm not someone who could actually be involved in something like this, but if there is a couple that want to marry a third or a fourth or even a fifth or sixth, they should be able to do that. Now, granted, there's probably some legal stuff that needs to be done with that, but morally speaking, they should have the right to be able to do that, and we should not have to judge them. If I can't live it, I'm not going to live it. It's the same way that I feel about gay marriage. If you don't want anything to do with gay marriage, don't marry a gay. Same way I feel about straight marriage. I don't want anything to do with straight marriage, so I'm not going to marry a woman. I'm sorry. So when we realize that we can live and let live and truly do that, then we should. And we should also understand that this is probably going to get me, thankfully I'm not monetized, so I don't even have to worry about this, but this might get me chalk-marked a little bit. Black Lives Matter. And it hurts me every time I watch another news reel about yet another innocent black man, innocent black woman, innocent black child being shot. Speaking of children, we need to go back to the best thing that Ronald Reagan ever did, and unfortunately it was because he got shot and his buddy Brady got shot, which is why the Brady Bill came up. Best thing that he ever did was completely deregulate, I guess, or regulate automatic weapons. Automatic weapons were illegal for 20 years until, of course, George Dumb Bush decided to come in and deregulate it and allow AK-14s or whatever they are. I don't know. I don't like automatic weapons. They are weapons of war, and that is all they're for. There is no good reason for any Joe Schmo on the face of this planet to own an automatic weapon. Period. They should be banned. They should be taken. They should be absolutely destroyed all across our nation, because look what it's done. Since Columbine, we have had so many school shootings that now we're even completely oblivious to them. Our children are dying on a daily basis, weekly at best. We have full huge events that happen that are destroyed by an automatic weapon just being shot into the crowd. Why? We have allowed that idiot to deregulate it all. Why? Because NRA is paying so much money into the Republican Party, and NRA has bought just about everybody, including some of the Democrats. Not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say the Democrats are a great party, because they haven't been. They've been they've been a disappointment over the last 30 years as well. They have moved so far right that the Overton window has moved so far right that even we think, for the most part, we think that Bernie and many of his ilk are to the left, when in fact, worldwide, they're actually kind of center. We are as far right as from the rest of the world, that we are so close to being considered a fascist country and an authoritarian third world country, that we need to disregard both parties and start moving back toward the left and back toward the center and back toward where the rest of the world lay. We have people dying of stuff that actually could be fixed if we had a healthcare system that is like Canada or England or France or Italy or Spain or Bolivia or Brazil or any of these other places. We have people who are dying because they can't even afford their own prescriptions. So I guess I said all of that to say this. Why would I want to celebrate the 4th of July? I find our country in decline to the point where we are so close to The Handmaid's Tale being an actuality, and we are so close to the Hunger Games being a reality. We are so close to Divergent. We are actually closer to 1984 than any of the others, and that's George Orwell's 1984, not the actual year. But it's as though everybody looked at 1984 by George Orwell and thought it was a textbook rather than a novel. And they decided to take it at its word, and we have listened to what our news is. I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago, our wonderful and esteemed Kellyanne Conway talked about alternative facts, and that is basically 1984's doublespeak. So what you saw was not really what happened. The alternative fact is this that I'm telling you. That's doublespeak. That is Orwell's doublespeak in its absolute primal form. So you can't tell me that our nation is getting better when I'm watching it become something that is a fictionalized dystopia that I used to read thinking, oh God, this is really cool, because it'll never happen. We're unfortunately, so much closer to 1984 than we will ever be if we start speaking out against all this stupidity and all of this doublespeak and all of this alternative fact that is coming on. Um, Fake news was one of the terms that was coined by Orwell in 1984. They loved fake news. They created fake news. So don't tell me that we are going in a good direction when I see rights being taken away and I see people gunned down for absolutely no reason when they actually could be saved by just a simple matter of regulation and 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 confiscation. I don't care if anybody has a pistol or a rifle. It's the automatic weapons that need to be taken. They need to be disposed of. They need to be given to only our militia, because our second amendment talks about only a well-regulated militia having the rights. Not every Joe Blow, and especially not with an automatic weapon, since they didn't have automatic weapons in 1775. So don't tell me that that is the purpose of the Second Amendment. It's not. And don't tell me that you're doing a good thing by disposing of Roe v. Wade, and don't tell me that you are doing a good thing by getting the LGBTQ community back into the closet. Which brings me to my last point. At least I hope it's my last point. One of the arguments that they use is that we are groomers. Well, let me tell you about groomers. It is a known fact over the last 40 years. All you have to do is just Google it for just a moment. And pedophiles over the last 40 years have been Catholic priests, they've been Baptist ministers, they've been football coaches, they've been pastors, they've been scout leaders, and all of them have been pillars of society who were married and had children. Maybe not all of them. About 95 to 97% of them. So, who are the groomers in our nation? Just because a drag queen wants to go in and read a story, it is no different than Frosty the Snowman going in and reading Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And it's no different than Santa Claus being in the mall having pictures taken with children on his lap. So don't talk to me about my trans brothers and my trans brothers and sisters and my drag sisters and brothers, because I'm sure there are drag kings who go out there and read stories as well. Don't tell me that they are grooming when all they're wanting to do is read stories. And definitely don't tell me that they're predators, because all they want to do is they just want to go into the bathroom and pee. Look at some of the pictures of trans men who were assigned at birth women, and tell me that you would be acceptable of them going into a women's room, because they don't look like women. And show me a true trans woman. I'm not going to say that there aren't freaks out there who would do something like that. So please don't misunderstand that I'm not saying that, but anyone knows what a true trans person looks like. They are obvious. They're not wearing wigs and a fake dress and have hair on their chest. Um, they typically don't even start using their their chosen restroom until well into the time that they've taken their hormones. So, I mean, you more than likely wouldn't. I know this because I've talked with people. I have friends, many friends, who are trans. They're trans women, trans men. They're beginning. They're in the middle of, and many of them do kind of, if they are in a strange or an unfamiliar spot, they will either not use the restroom and wait until they get into a familiar spot, or they will go into the restroom that they were given at birth. Um, so, so don't tell me that they're in there just for anything other than just to pee, because that's usually what they're in there for. It's all I'm in there for. I'm a gay man. I go into a men's room and I go pee. That's what I do. Um, so if you use that logic, then, well, I'm not even going to put that out there. I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with that, but I won't even put that out there because some idiot will take that and they'll use that. So just know that I am completely annoyed at the fact that we haven't fought earlier, and I'm asking you, I'm begging you all, starting this year, right now, right this moment, as soon as you finish watching this video, to go out and fight against the hate, the discrimination, the obvious attempt at stripping away rights, right and left, for all of these marginalized people. Don't let another one go. Um, don't let it happen. That's my rant. Uh, Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And you know the drill when it comes to YouTube, and of course, if I do wind up posting this on Facebook, um, go ahead and put your comments down below, and we'll see how this goes.